Many politicians are in the habit of laying it down as a self-evident proposition that no people ought to be free till they are fit to use their freedom. The maxim is worthy of the fool in the old story who resolved not to go into the water until he had learned to swim. And this week's opening quote comes from Thomas Macaulay. Welcome to Surviving the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maxwell Igan. It's a pleasure to be with you once again, and I will be your host for the next hour. Imagine the type of mind that ever thought to say that no people ought to be free until they are fit to use their freedom. I mean, it really does make you wonder, folks, and these are the type of people that have designated themselves to be the rulers of this world. The self-styled rulers of the world are those who believe they have the right to rule the world because they simply believe they have things right and that they just know better than everybody else and that everybody else can't possibly have the intelligence that they have, and so therefore no one ought to be free until they are able to be free under the standards that are set by these people. And of course that freedom will be a certain modicum of freedom as long as you don't step on the grass of the people who make the rules. Very interesting concept of freedom indeed. But the mere idea that that freedom should be controlled by somebody else and that people must be in some way judged worthy before they are fit to be free is a very, very telling statement for someone to have made. And it's a very disturbing trend of what this system is attempting to impose upon mankind, and has been actually quite gradually imposing it upon mankind for a good many years now. It's just that that power is now getting consolidated. And it really is, folks. It's being consolidated right across the planet. There are so many steps being taken now to lock the people down, and it's really being done in a very insidious and very secretive manner, and it's being done while people are distracted for the most part and looking elsewhere. Many people are worried about the future. Many people are concerned with the problems that we have, but they're not really looking in the right direction. They're not seeing where the real problems are coming from, and they're not seeing what the solutions to these problems are. In fact, many people, when they look at this system and look at the society and look at the whole control grid that's being built around us, they simply can't see a way out. But I believe that there is a way out. But of course the way out lies within the hearts of the people, and they have to be prepared to act, and that is the real problem that we face. But there really is a lot going on at the moment, folks, and there's a lot of things being slipped in under the carpet while people just really are not paying attention. People have got their head down rabbit holes, and people are looking for the storm. But unfortunately, for the most part, they're looking in the wrong direction. That's the thing about the people who control this system, folks. They're very, very good at distracting the populace. They're very good at waving the right hand in front of you while people aren't noticing what the left hand is doing. They're extremely good at distracting people, folks. They even get me. They do. They get me sometimes. They distract me. They send me down a rabbit hole, and they fool me into believing something, and meanwhile they're doing something else on the side. And it's a constant thing. You've got to be aware of this all the time. It's important to be aware that all major global events are staged, and they're staged for a reason. Everything happens for a purpose, folks. There's nothing that happens on this world that happens by mistake. Not anything major, anyway. And in attempting to deal with this new world order, we've got to look at all the possibilities. We've got to look at all the mechanisms they can use to roll it out and all the possibilities of how it's going to be rolled out. But again, it's important that we look at the bigger picture and don't allow ourselves to be distracted. There's been so many people waiting for martial law to be introduced. So many people waiting for a financial crash. And all of the pieces are there for a financial crash to happen, but will it happen? That's another question. Maybe they just put all the pieces there so that we will start crying wolf, and then, again, people don't believe you when you start to bring the real information to them. You know, when you find out what the truth is and you bring it to them, they don't believe you because they've been so used to so many people telling them the world is about to collapse and the sky is falling for so many years now that people just don't know what to believe. But like I've often said, folks, if you really want to know what's going on, you've got to follow the money. You've got to realize that the world is run via the economic system. Everything we do is about supporting the economic model, all of it. I've been speaking about this for 8 years on the air now, folks. It's via the economic system that the control grid is being rolled out. Because this is something people are just not taking into account. People are not taking the economic system into their calculations when they look at the problems that we face and when they look at the solutions and the way out of this situation. And they don't realize how controlled they are via the economic model. And yes, all of the pieces are in place for a major economic crash to happen and for Jade Helm to pick up the pieces. But because it's right there in your face and because it's so obvious, I really don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. For a little while there, I did. I thought there may be a major economic meltdown in September this year. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as I first thought it was. I think a lot of it is a distraction. I think there's stuff going on behind the scenes that is far more important than what's going on with Jade Helm. I think Jade Helm is merely what it pretends to be, and that is an exercise. It's an exercise in seeing how an AI-controlled task force or AI-controlled militarized police force would function, and how it would operate, how the commands would work, how the people would react to it, how the soldiers would react to it. I think it's a test to see how things may play out in the future, but I don't think it's going to come to fruition this year. The thing is, when they control you via the economic model the way they do and the way they are consolidating things, they don't really need to lock the country down into a police state. They don't need to microchip you. They don't need to lock people into FEMA camps and do all the things that people have been in fear of them doing. And of course, you've got to understand that the people that are constructing this control grid, they're kind of making it up as they go along as well. I mean, they're probably trying things along the way and seeing what works and seeing what the reaction is and basically figuring things out as they go along, the same as everybody else does. But what they're doing now is they're consolidating the economic model via the smart system, the smart grid, smart appliances, smartphones, smart refrigerators, smart washing machines, smart everything, by digitizing currency, wanting to remove paper currency, remove cash from the equation, get everybody locked into a digital virtual world. And they've done a pretty good job of that already. I mean, people are half locked into this world now. So they don't really have far to go to lock people into it completely. And they can do it all through the fear of terrorism, through the fear of all of these wars, through the fear of people transferring funds around to illegal entities that may be supporting terrorism, and all the rubbish they can cook up. All they've got to do is control the mindset of the people and keep people in fear of their freedom, and people will willingly give their freedom away, as they have done so many times in the past. So it's really not hard to put all the pieces in place and to construct a type of scenario that's going to be very beneficial for the economic model. And once they've got everybody locked into this smart system and everybody locked into this smart grid, well, they don't need to microchip you, folks. They don't need to declare martial law. All they have to do is switch you off. And they can switch you off in the virtual world, which will switch off your access to all amenities, all resources, or finances. It means you won't be able to pay your rent or buy food or do anything because all the currency will be digitized. So they don't need to microchip you. They can control you via the economic model. All they have to do is collect information on your habits, which they've been doing via monitoring people's credit card activity and through things such as social media, Facebook, people having GPSs in their mobile phones so they can track them everywhere they go. They can track all the purchases people make. They monitor your search engine habits, what you're typing into search engines, so they can monitor what type of person you are. They can read your emails. They can see what you're up to. So they can get a profile on everybody. That's been a big reason why the internet has come out. I mean, the internet's been a huge boon to our lives in many ways, but it's also provided the powers that believe they be with a massive data pool, a massive pool of information whereby they can monitor the habits of virtually everybody, because most people operate within a virtual world. I mean, admittedly, not everybody, but a lot of people do. Most people do a lot of activity online these days. Most people have mobile phones. Most people shop with credit cards. And via these mechanisms, they are able to gain a comprehensive data sheet on just about everybody. If you add social media to the equation, well, they've got just about everything they need to know about everybody. And they can switch this on or off once they digitize the whole thing. And once you've got smart appliances in your house, and your house is hooked up to a smart electrical grid, then the sky's the limit as far as the powers that believe they be are concerned, as far as those who control the control grid are concerned. They basically got you by the short and curlies, folks. They can do basically anything they want. And at that point, they don't need to microchip you. They don't need to lock the country down in martial law or anything like that. They can control you through the technology that you have become subservient to. This is what technocracy is all about. This is what the technocratic system that Brzezinski and so many people have talked about for so many years is all about. It's about controlling you via the technology that controls the economic system. But it's all done through economics. It's all done through that model. It's all done via the mistaken belief that money is actually real, and the perceived state of scarcity that that belief creates. Now, I've been speaking to you about this for years, folks, how the economic system that we support is in fact a system of debt slavery, how it's used to control our lives and to prevent us from accessing the abundance of the world. But when you realize what that system has the potential to become, if it's taken out of the real world and put into the virtual world, i.e. if everything becomes digitized and smart, then you really begin to see how controlling this system can be. And again, it's an interesting thing because when you put it in a virtual world, it becomes even more fictional than it already is because, of course, it's a fictional system. Anyway, the whole system of debt slavery that we live our lives by is in fact a paper-based reality that is entirely fictional. We made the whole thing up. But now it's being moved to a digital realm, and it's going to be even more fictional because it just exists in the virtual world. But the fact that we are all now locked into the virtual world via the technology we use means that we are all very, very trackable. In fact, every single movement that you make is trackable. And people may look at this and say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then why should you worry about being tracked? Well, it's because what they do when they track you is they gain a psychological profile and a physical profile on you, on all your habits, what you eat, what you watch, what you wear, where you go, what your sexual preferences are, what your family ties are, who your friends are, what you're talking about, the places that you go, the places you visit, how much money you're spending, what you're spending it on. And so they can monitor every single cent you make, and they can make sure you're spending it in the right places. They can make sure you're not making any money on the side or any profit on the side, and they can make sure that you're towing the government line in every single way. And the AI will take care of it all. You know, if you're late on your electricity bill or you haven't paid a parking fine, it will automatically deduct something else from your life. You won't have a question. You won't have a say in the matter. If you're simply late for something, there'll be no human compassion in anything. You know, often if we're late for a bill, we can talk to our real estate agent or our electrical company or whatever, and we can get an extension. They'll understand because they're human beings. But when it's AI, there is no understanding, there is no compassion. Everything is done by the book. The whole system becomes completely about balancing the numbers. That's what it's about, folks. It completely eliminates all humanity from any aspect of the system that controls humanity. And that's the danger of the technotronic era and the technotronic system that they are attempting to bring in. That's the danger of technocracy, folks, is that it will take over your lives and it will remove all human empathy from any human situation and any human empathy from any decisions that are made regarding human beings. And this spells a very, very dangerous future for all of us if we allow ourselves to continue down this technocratic